Kamusta kaibigan? Welcome to another episode of Website Reviews with Ali. Today we're going to review the website teachsocialskills.com. The owner of this website is Diana Cortez. She helped kids develop their 21st century social skills that lead them to happier and healthier lives. The main goal of her website is to convert viewers into buyers of her online course. The reason she wants her website reviewed is because, according to Diana Cortez, to create a better flow and viewer experience. Now let's take a quick look at her website before we dive into the review. The first thing that I want to talk about is the header section. For the logo, I recommend including the name so visitors immediately know where they are and what your website is called. Next, let's talk about the navigation links. I really like the hover animation when you move your mouse over the links. Great job on that. Also, I recommend removing the game pack link in your navigation since it already appears under your courses and it doesn't make sense to list it twice. Next is the Meet Diana link. I recommend creating a separate about page for that. However, if you want to keep it as it is, make sure that the link scrolls to the About section instead of instantly jumping like this. So if we take a look at this example website, when I click on one of these links, it will scroll down below. So you can have something similar within your website. Next, when you go to the blog page, you'll notice that the header layout suddenly changes. I recommend keeping the header layout consistent across all pages to avoid confusing your viewers. I also recommend adding a call to action button in here. So if we take a look at this website example, you can see the call to action button in here. So you can have the same within your website. You can decide whether it's free assessment or free workshop, whichever is more important for your main goal. Okay, next let's talk about the hero section. I recommend making the container width the same as your header for consistency. Right now things look a bit all over the place, which can make it harder for viewers to scan and read your content. Next, let's talk about the images. I recommend removing the shadows because they're a bit strong and can be distracting. But if you still want to keep them, I recommend making the shadows lighter and softer so they look more subtle and natural. Now let's move on to the text content. I recommend aligning the text to the left. Right now, the center alignment makes it harder to scan and read. I also recommend making the heading bigger and bolder so it grabs more attention. Right now, the heading looks close to the button text size. I also recommend adding a short supporting paragraph right here under your heading to give it a bit more context. Next are the buttons. I really like the orange color you use for your buttons. It feels fun and friendly. It fits your brand really well. Now here's one issue. You currently have two buttons side by side that looks the same. This can confuse your viewers about which one to click first. Here's what I recommend. Make your button the brand orange color. That should be your primary call to action. For the secondary button, maybe this one, you can use your brand blue color to differentiate it. You can decide which is more important, whether it's free assessment or free workshop. Just make sure it's consistent with the call out button that you'll be adding within your header section. Oh, and one last thing. Remove the shadows on your buttons for a cleaner and more modern look. Next, let's talk about the social skills group section. Honestly, I didn't realize it was a course at first. Instead of using this image, I recommend adding a short video intro or maybe a mock-up of a laptop showing a quick preview of what inside the course. But if you still want to use this image, I recommend making it slightly larger to create a better visual balance. Also pick one image style and stick with it. Either use rounded corners like this one or sharp edges like what you have in this one. Keeping it consistent across the website will make everything look professional and cohesive. For the layout, I recommend making it vertically aligned so everything feels more balanced and easier to follow. Now for the heading, align it to the left side and make it bigger and bolder so it stands out more. Now let's talk about the button in here. Right now it's a bit too big. I recommend styling it like the buttons on your hero section and keep that button style consistent throughout your website. And one more quick note before we move on. I recommend removing all unnecessary letter spacing in your text. It might seem small but it makes a big difference. Removing the extra spacing will make your text much easier to read. So this is how it looks like after removing the letter spacing. And this is how it looks like before removing the letter spacing. So this one is much more better and easier to read. Next, let's talk the About section. I really like that you use a photo of you and your family here. It adds a personal touch and helps create a connection with your audience. Now for the heading, I recommend making it bigger and bolder to make it stand out. Also, remove the italic style to keep it consistent with the rest of your website's typography. As for the image, I recommend making it wider. Right now, it looks a little bit narrow, or you could simply increase its overall size a little to create better balance with the text beside it. Next, let's talk about the footer section. This section should always be at the very bottom of your website page. I recommend moving it down to the lowest part of your website. This will make your website look complete and professional. So it should look something like this. Next, let's talk about the callout section. I recommend placing your callout section above the footer section. Also, I recommend to make the width stretch across the entire screen so it feels more balanced and fills the space nicely. So it should look something like this. And lastly, make the Get in Touch heading a bit bigger and bolder so it stands out and grabs attention right before your viewers reach the end of the page. Alright, now let's move on to the courses page. I recommend removing the category and search bar. Since you only have 2 courses right now, I don't think they're necessary for now. Usually, search bars are only useful when you have 10 or more items to browse through. Also, I noticed that the social skills group for 21st Century Kids course seems to be missing. I recommend to include that to show within this page. Next, let's go to the individual course. Let's start with the hero section. I recommend adding some top and bottom spacing so the content can breathe a little bit more. For the callout section, I recommend using your brand orange color for the button. It will stand out more and stay consistent with the rest of your design. Next, for the curriculum section, I recommend removing it for now, since there aren't many lessons listed yet. Also, when I tried clicking on the start button, it didn't work. So you may want to double check on that as well. Next, let's talk about the Game Pack course. If possible, try adding more details about the Game Pack within its own course page. Right now, it's missing information about what students will actually get from the course. If you can combine these 2 pages, this one and this one, that would be really great. Now let's review the social skills group for 21st Century Kids page. First, let's focus on the hero section. I recommend adding a dark overlay on the hero image and centering the position of the text. So currently right now it's on the left side, it should be somewhere right here. Next, I recommend separating the intro text, which is this one, into its own section by giving it a different background color. Right now, it feels a bit text heavy, so breaking it up will make it easier for viewers to read and digest. I also recommend removing the course curriculum button since it doesn't go anywhere. And for the module descriptions, I recommend removing the italics to keep the text consistent and easier to read. I also recommend removing the join waitlist button since you already have that call to action button below. Now for this FAQ section, I recommend moving it below the money back guarantee section for better flow and hierarchy. Now let's talk about the pricing section. I recommend stacking the layout vertically instead of side by side like this. This way, the layout doesn't compete for attention and the focus stays on the left side, which is the most important area for your viewers. I recommend making the heading bigger and bolder to grab attention. For the second box, since it's text heavy, I recommend adding a clear heading and a short paragraph instead to make it easier to scan. Lastly, when I click Join Waitlist, the page it goes to has no header and has a different footer. I recommend having a consistent header and footer style so it feels cohesive with the rest of your website. Alright, now let's move on to the blog page. Let's start with the hero section. I recommend adding a dark color overlay on top of the background image and changing the text color to white. This will make the text much more easier to read and prevent the background image from becoming too distracting. For this main section, I recommend adding a bit more spacing on the top so the layout feels more open and balanced. Next, let's go for the individual blog post. I recommend to add a proper spacing in the intro because right now it feels too tight and a proper spacing will definitely help. I also recommend making the blog title much more bigger and bolder so it clearly stands out from the rest of the text in the content. And finally, fix the author image issue. It looks like it's not displaying correctly. And that's it for today's website review. I've added all the website links in the description below so you can check them out yourself. If you want me to review your website next, watch this video to learn how.